We are thrilled to have Destiny Bowers here today with us from Roundtable Technology to talk about cybersecurity.
Cybersecurity is probably one of my favorite topics and something that I do enjoy talking to people about and educating folks on because it is such an important thing that is in the world nowadays. It always has been and always will be as long as technology exists. Welcome everyone to Getting Smart, because I think I'm clever with my titles about cybersecurity. I'm Destiny Bowers. I work with Roundtable Technology. We are a managed service provider that specializes in working with nonprofits, C3s, C4s, fiscal sponsors, things like that, mission-based organizations. So we really understand what nonprofits, but then also the people who work with them and that they serve are going through, particularly nowadays. We are going to talk about some things that I think are a little scary to people. The purpose of today's presentation is about educating folks, and it's about empowering you to be able to do things that are within your control. So we're not here to try and make you scared. We call FUD, uncertainty, doubt. That's not the purpose of this. I'm not going to say that you might not be a little freaked out by some stuff, because there's some freaky stuff going on out there, but hopefully we will address some of the individual concerns you have about your personal cybersecurity. One of the things that comes up a lot when we talk about cybersecurity is, why are we doing education? Why are we doing trainings on this, right? Isn't technology supposed to take care of technology for me? And people are extremely important when it comes to cybersecurity, because in the end, you are the target, right? Technologies themselves can be targeted, but the way that they get to things is typically through a person, because people are everywhere. But that's why trained and aware people are the best defense. The more you know, when you know how to lock your door, when you know how to keep safe when you're walking down the street or things like that, you are more prepared. And it's the same thing with cybersecurity. We all have responsibility for our own information. It's not just the vendors, it's not just the phone we're putting it on. We want to participate in our own digital safety. Because when we think about the kinds of common attacks, we really look at it in the, yes, a lot of these are at businesses, but a lot of them are at us as individuals through things like phishing, through personal data, identity theft. A lot of times we see, and this is a big one, romance fraud. If you do watch the Netflix documentary, so we know that this is all out there, investment scams, things like that. And why is this happening? Because this is a billion-trillion-dollar industry. There is huge amounts of money to be made off of cybercrime. And where there is money, there is people who are always going to try and do the thing that gets them money. When we think about security, though, we think about this in anything. There's not just one thing to do. There are layers. We look at what we call our Swiss cheese model of cybersecurity, which is essentially, if you only have one thing protecting you, there's going to be holes and people are going to get through it. And when you layer things up, your one hole is going to cover by something else, by another piece of cheese, by another piece of cheese. And then in the end, you've got yourself a delicious security sandwich. What we're going to focus on today are the things that you have influence over, the things that you as an individual have control over. You may not necessarily have influence over compliance and regulatory things, but you do have control over how you interact with your own accounts and things like that. So we want to build up this defensive layer. And one of the first things that we want to think through in a defensive layer is identity. How do these scammers and these hackers and the other people know so much about us? How am I getting something that's addressing me by name, or someone who looks like a friend on Facebook? And that is what we call open source intelligence. That is the information that is out there in the public, either by things that we are putting out there ourselves when I make that post on Facebook, or when I'm putting something on my social media account, or all of that information that we have. But it's also information that is unfortunately legally gathered by what are called data brokers. Those are the folks out there who, when you're not paying attention to your cookie consent that pops up on a website, all those advertisers, all of the folks who are looking at public records, census data, all of this, that scrape that information, bundle it together, and then sell it. So this is how they know this. And this is where we do have some control over what we put out on social media, what we make public, what we answer in random chats and quizzes, when we get the pop-up on a website that says, do you accept our cookies or opt out or click on don't sell my information. This is where we can act to reduce that. And this is also the kind of information that is used for things like doxing. And I know that this is a big concern for a lot of folks, that someone's going to use my information to either find me or to expose information about me online. And this is where we really want to go through some work, and we're going to talk more about that on reducing our digital footprint, perhaps even engaging a service that will help scrape my information from data brokers to really reduce the information that is out there about me. So it's a twofold thing where I start with reducing the information that I make public, and I take steps to get rid of information that is already out there. So when we think about minimizing our digital footprint, clean up your social media, look at your privacy settings, lock that down, get rid of social media that you don't use anymore. A lot of people have migrated off of a certain bird-shaped platform that maybe we don't want anything about there anymore. On your devices and in general, don't allow location information. That is also a big thing that's used to sell. So turn off location on your phone, turn off location on your pictures, turn off location on the apps. Get rid of that. Google yourself. Set an alert so when you come up, what is found. Look at some of these sites like Spokeo to see what is out there about you. You can do some request takedowns on Google, like I am this person, get my information off of there. Go, like I said, on the social media accounts, also lock down, make it only friends. Don't make it public necessarily. Get rid of people who you don't interact with anymore. Be careful who you allow for friends or for following, that these are legitimate people and not bots and not spoofed accounts. Go online and look at services like Incogni or Delete Me that can help reduce your data broker owned information for you. You also want to, in general, like I said, opt out of things. You might want to freeze your credit reports. Go to the 3 credit reporting agencies, lock that down. There's different ways of doing this that may, if you're looking for a new credit card or other things, not prevent that. But this is another thing. Get rid of old accounts. Like maybe you signed up for a MySpace account back in year 1, or all of these other things that they still have your information. You don't shop at the Gap anymore. Get rid of your Gap account. Take a little time, a little effort. Get rid of that stuff. If it matters, put multi-factor authentication on your accounts, your banking, your email, your Netflix, like everything. We'll get more into that, but protect it, protect it. We're also going to talk about improving passwords. So you want to put that work into securing the information that goes out there about you. When we think about the information itself, these are our accounts. Everything is almost digital nowadays. Everything we get to is stored in some cloud-based SaaS application. It's our banking, it's our social media, it's our files, it's our email, it's all of that. All of that sits behind the one crappiest thing in the world for the most part, and that is a password. Passwords fundamentally are broken and they suck, and we as human beings are really sucky at coming up with good passwords, which is why so many people use the same password for everything. And I'm here to tell you that is a bad idea. Having a weak password is probably one of the most likely ways that you are going to get hacked, outside of you then deliberately giving it away by logging into something. So we really want to stress every account should have a unique password. And by unique, I don't mean adding a 1 or an exclamation point or a 2 or something at the end of it. It has to be unique. It also needs to be as long as possible. Back in the day, people were all about complexity, have a lowercase and uppercase of this or that. Length matters now more with the way that modern systems can hack things. The longer, the better. But also, do not use common, what we call dictionary words. So if you're making your password blueberry 1234, it might be long, but it's a terrible password. So this is where utilizing a password manager comes into play. There are ones out there that are free, but sometimes spending the extra couple of dollars is really worth it, because a password manager is going to allow you to create long, individual, unique passwords that will help protect your accounts from people who are just trying to brute force their way in by hammering away at passwords that have been in breaches or from hacks and stuff like that and getting in. Also, it allows you to, if you have shared accounts, share them securely with loved ones, family members, friends, or whomever, and give you a secure way to share a password with them. The other thing too, which is intrinsically important, is multi-factor authentication. Just having a password is not sufficient nowadays because there are still ways to bypass them. If you're using a weak password or reusing a password, or somebody else who might have access is not good about things. Multi-factor authentication, just do it. At this point, this is not even a conversation. It is a must-have. And when you are setting up multi-factor authentication, start with your most important accounts. Your banking probably already has this, but your email account, you want that on there. Your file account, anything that has information about you, anything that can be used to get more information about you, anything that has financial repercussions, anything that has personal data, you want MFA on this. When you are given the option of the type of MFA you set up, sometimes you may only have that text-based authentication where it's going to send you a code via a text message. If that's the only option you've got, do it. However, if you have the option to get a push notification or use an authenticator app, that is actually the direction you want to go, and they are more secure than just text-based messages. So do whatever MFA is available, but go to authenticator apps. And ideally, if you really want to hit home, there are things called hardware tokens. YubiKey is a big popular one that allows you to tie the login to a physical thing. So unless someone's sitting there in the room with you touching that device, they can't get in. So when we really look at the order listed on the screen, hardware tokens are the way to go, but having something is better than nothing at all. You also may see this pop up now in a lot of things like your Google accounts and others, or where they're saying, do you want to do passwordless or phish resistant, where they're tying it to a device where you have to put in like your Mac code or something before you can log or to use that to log into the account. This is actually a good thing. So getting rid of the use of passwords and tying it to a physically encrypted device like your laptop is a benefit. So the one thing though that for folks who might be in the public a little more often and are concerned about someone confiscating or taking a device from you, that's where you might want to use passcode, something you have to type in, versus biometrics. So if you are attending protests, if you're in live events, if you maybe have questions about your immigration status, these are areas where you want to use passcodes, passwords, not biometrics. This is where awareness comes into play. And the big thing that is going to get people is what we call social engineering. People by default are helpful in nature. People by default are not criminal by nature. So when somebody asks us a question or asks us to help them or asks us to do something, the first thing that pops into our mind is not like, is this a scam we're trying to get me? This is a, oh my gosh, yes, I want to help my friend. I want to do whatever. But this is what hackers look for. So this is where we're manipulating trust, where we're looking and exploiting human vulnerabilities, psychological triggers, people who are tired, people who are stressed, people who are busy, people who aren't feeling well, people who are scared of the state of the world are going to react without thinking. And then when we tie in that information we've learned about you on social media, that makes it even more likely for us to trust or something like that and go, oh, this person went to high school with my sister. They friended me on Facebook. This must be legitimate, right? I hate to be this person to say always be a little suspicious, but always be a little suspicious. We all have an internal spidey sense. There's always a little bit of something in the back of your mind that goes, something here doesn't seem quite right. And I think, unfortunately, we are sometimes trained, and I will say, particularly as women, to be helpful and that we don't push back and we don't want to piss anybody off, to be blunt. So this is where we can tactfully pause for a minute and say, this doesn't feel right, and I'm going to go against some of this, and I'm going to take a pause, because all methods of communication are going to be targets for phishing and scamming, because hackers are going to go where the people are. They might know people of one generation use email, the people of another generation are all message-based or social media-based. They know this. This is not a big mystery in how to find and communicate with people. But things are also circling back around because they're less expected. We all hear about email targeting targeted phishing. That means people aren't talking about good old-fashioned voice or in person, things like that. That's still a thing. So if you can communicate, text, email, social media posts, social media sites, Google search results, direct messages, phone calls, search results like from when you're looking at something online, public Wi-Fi, and even human being direct contact. These are all things that you always want to be thinking about. Is there potential for being scammed here? Other things are the tactics that they use. Initiation being the big one. I'm sure hackers love you to just stand up there and throw out passwords and things like that and banking information, but usually they're going to come to you. They're going to start the process. And they're going to leverage certain things that we respond to as human beings. One of those is authority. I'm the IRS, you need to do this. I'm your boss. I'm your fill in the blank. And we also, as human beings, attribute authority to things that have control over what matters to us. So our Netflix account might matter, our Facebook account might matter, our banking information. So we're going to respond to them because they have control. Urgency, do this thing now. I need you to respond to this. If you don't do it in 24 hours immediately, you're going to go to jail. We're going to come get whatever it might be. And that also ties into fear. Something bad is going to happen. And human beings are risk averse. We are more likely to act on losing something, the fear of losing something, than we are on the fear of gaining something. But that still is a human trait of curiosity and greed. Ooh, I'm going to win something. I'm going to get a gift card. I'm going to get this. I'm going to see what this is. And sheer curiosity. What happens when I click this link? What's in this attachment? I want to know what kind of potato I am online or whatever it might be. These are all things to be wary of. Sometimes even if it seems innocuous, hey, I lost your phone number, or a text message that just says hi. All of these are sus. Don't respond. If it really matters, someone's going to get back to you again. So when you're receiving these, look for funky domain names. Just because it says it came from Destiny at Roundtable, did it really? Is it saying Destiny, but is the email address like fred@url.com? What? If it has an attachment, if it has a link, if it requires you to log into anything, if the language just seems weird or off, if you're not expecting it from this person or that company in general, you didn't request certain things, and anything that is financial, anything that is sensitive, this is where we look for what we call our one-word cybersecurity training, which is verify. Take that extra minute, take a pause, and go back to that person, go back to that entity in another way to validate. And so that's what we call out-of-band authentication, funnily known as UBA. UBA. So I receive something that says that we see a fraudulent purchase on your Amazon account. Get back to us right away. Okay, maybe it isn't, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Amazon.com, where I always go, and I'm going to log into my account. Or I get a thing from my bank saying there's something going on, all your money, blah, blah, whatever. I'm going to go to my bank card and call the phone number on the back of it. I get a message from Frances saying, oh, I need you to contact me right away about some gift cards. She sends an email. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to call. I'm going to go through another way to validate or verify and make sure that there is this kind of legitimate request. And again, even in public, I want to connect to the Wi-Fi. I need to do something. Hey, I'm going to go to someone and say, hey, Starbucks, is this the right one? Because fake Wi-Fi sites are another way people get scammed. So you always want to validate before you transact or before you communicate or anything like that. And you know what? Just ignore it. If you really think that the IRS might be contacting you about something in the middle of government shutdown, I doubt it. But go to the IRS website and contact them that way instead. But let's say I did click on something. It happens. Invariably, this is going to happen. Contact somebody. Contact the IT department or the fraud department of the particular vendor where you think you might have clicked something. If you entered credentials into anything, immediately go and change those passwords along with any passwords that might be similar to it if you haven't done so already, and make sure that MFA is on there. And if you think that there was other accounts, look at deleted items. See if your friends are saying they got a weird email or anything like that from you. And if you think that happened, communicate with them in another way so they don't end up clicking and falling for things. The other thing that we want to protect is the device that we're doing things from. So we talked about our accounts, how we get to them, where our information lives, but also where we connect from, our phones, our laptops, things like that. So we want to make sure that we are encrypting our devices, that the hard drives, if our device is lost or stolen, that they can't just get into our information. So that's File Vault and BitLocker on Mac or on PC. That we are putting screen locks that have a PIN code on them on our phones that time out. If your phone is always on, your phone's not protected. So after 3 minutes of inactivity on your laptop, on your phone, what have you, turn that on and make sure you need a password to get back in. Keep things up to date. When you get those security updates that says there's an update for your phone, there's a new operating system on your whatever, make sure you're doing those updates, because a lot of times those are fixing security holes that are being exploited. When you're out in public, keep an eye on your device. If you are in a cafe and your laptop or your phone is sitting by you on a table, don't do that, because anybody can walk by and grab it, or when you get up to do something, keep things within physical possession. If you are concerned about device seizure, look at lockdown mode if you're on an iOS device. And then if you are doing any kind of border crossing travel, turn your phone off. Don't just disable whatever, turn it off, because when you turn it back on, it will be encrypted unless you unlock it. So there are some levels of protection that you can do in those scenarios. Or if you think that there's a real concern and you are able to travel without your device, and you think the risk to you of not having a device is better than having one with you, consider not traveling with it. Or if you're in a larger thing like a protest and you're worried about certain tracking, there is something called a Faraday bag that will protect the signal from phones that you can slip your phone into. That way, when you need it, it's there, but there's no signal tracking or anything like that. You also want to take account how, when you're online, you're doing things, that when you are going to a site, that you're in the right place, that you're not in a site that is a spoofed site that looks like the legitimate site. We see that a lot with fake shopping sites, where they'll be like gapdiscount.com or something like that, which aren't real. When you're doing a search for something, make sure that it's not the promoted or the ad, because I was Googling Apple support and now it's like free Apple support comes up. Always validate that you're getting where you need to go. Opt out of those site cookies. When you're adding a plugin or extension or an app or something on your phone, validate. Is this legitimate? What permissions does it need? What access is it getting to my information? Does it have a lot of reviews? Is it really popular? Or is it like one person said this is okay and I've never heard of this developer? Because a lot of these things, you're giving permanent access to accounts. You want to make sure. Take a look at what browsers and extensions you currently have and get rid of things you don't actually need. Clear out your cache and cookies. Cookies. Get rid of cookies. And if needed, use incognito mode. Use a secure browser so that some of that information is not being tracked. So when you're adding things to your device, make sure they're legitimate. Be careful about freeware, free things, stuff like that. Make sure the permissions are like in alignment with what this thing does. A camera needing access to your storage on your phone makes sense. A calculator needing access to your contacts does not. If you can tailor what things get access to in the permissions, give it the least amount of access. A lot of times you can turn off just location or turn off certain things. Do that. Clean out your phone. Get rid of the things you don't use anymore. If something is asking for your information or asking for access to something, validate it before you give it access to an account. When you're out in public connecting to things, make sure that your own home Wi-Fi has got a good password so people can't compromise that. Instead of using public Wi-Fi, if you can tether to your phone or a hotspot, try that first. If you do need to use public Wi-Fi, validate that it is the right one for that environment. Turn off the Bluetooth and auto connect to Wi-Fi on your phone. Things want to connect to things, and there's a danger there. When you're going to a website, make sure that it is a secure site using that HTTPS. You'll see the little lock icon. Anything nowadays that's using just HTTP, don't even go there. It's not encrypted. It's not safe. And then also, when you're communicating, if you think that there's things or topics that you're concerned about, particularly folks with certain immigration status and other things like that, certain gender identity, you want to think about what you have in writing. You want to not necessarily attach files, maybe link to them from your cloud provider. Don't email sensitive information. Maybe use something like Signal that you can disappear, so you're not giving sensitive information in a way that can permanently be found. We also want to talk a little bit about AI. AI is making it a lot easier to fake a lot of things, to fake people, fake accounts, fake information that is out there online. Misinformation is huge. Always validate sources, always validate people. Again, verify, because you can use AI to make it easier to spam people and to scam people, to do deep fakes where people may basically make it sound like it's a relative or a family member. And this is where, again, verify. If you have family members who you think are susceptible to scams, tend to, like the elderly is a big vector, unfortunately, have an internal password amongst your family and friends. If I get a call from my grandson that says, help, I've been arrested, please send me money, someone's going to come by to pick it up. If they're not saying pineapple or fig leaf or whatever it might be, it's not really them. If you suspect a call isn't real, hang up and then call them back on a known number. Again, UBA, out of band, again, verify. Verification is going to help with deep fakes and things like that. When it comes to social media posts and stuff like that, I'm going to say, whatever it is, go to a trusted news source, go to a trusted source. There is so much about that online now that is like just questionable, that it is very hard even for experts. But this is where you want to determine, I trust these things. I trust the Associated Press, or I trust the fill in the blank. And so if I need to validate, I'm going to go here to look for that, because deepfakes and AI is making it difficult for us to know this. So just know that it has made all of this more prevalent and more easy to do. These things are so frequently, like the calls, the texts. And one thing I will add is that a lot of times these are also seasonal. Like as we get into the holiday season,
Yeah.
you're going to start seeing more shipping scams, more fake shopping sites. When we get around Valentine's Day, you'll see more romance scams. When we get around Super Bowl, you'll see more betting site scams. Whenever there's something horrible going on in the world, you'll see disaster relief scams. It is always about being internally a little more heightened alertness on yourself. A little bit of the, I'm going to, what we call trust but verify, and I'm going to
Yeah.
remove trust from that statement nowadays.
Just
I would
verify.
look, and
Yeah.
if someone gets annoyed with you that you did this, then you'll say, I think you'd be more annoyed if, your identity was stolen, or I ended up taking $10,000 of your money and sending it
Yeah.
to the wrong place. So we want to build culturally a security culture where everybody is educating each other, everybody is cooperating with each other for some of these tricks and tactics to make sure that we're being secure together, and that we're appreciating people want us to help them be secure and not be annoyed by it instead.
Absolutely. And I like what you said too about women in particular sort of being trained to be accommodating. It's, I don't want to be rude to this person. I think it's one of those things that we have to learn in terms of setting those boundaries and going back and verifying, and not
Yeah.
being concerned with being accommodating in that moment. Instead, being willing to actually do the research and make sure that you're not being targeted and making
Yeah.
yourself more vulnerable.
And there's always, thanks, but I don't have this information. I'll have to get back to you. Click.
Yeah, totally. That's a great line
Yeah.
to use.
Yeah, you could have some canned statements you can think through. A lot of this is about preparedness, like a fire drill, right? If you're the kind of person who's nervous about speaking back to people or things like that, just prepare a few of these canned statements. I don't have that information. I'll have to get back to you. Give me 1 second. I'm in the middle of something. I'll call you back. Just have something prepared that you can
Hmm.
rehearse, and that way you can just hang up. You can not communicate. You can do whatever. And that way it's becomes second nature.